I'm going to go ahead and get started in the interest of time. And hopefully people find their seats before Joe goes on, because he's the headline. I'm just the opening act, right? I just do the warm-up act to get the audience ready and in their seats. Or the opening act. Okay. Thank you all for coming tonight to AITP, hosted at Blue Cross Blue Shield. We appreciate you joining us on this field trip to Durham and checking out this beautiful location. I, for one, have never been in this building. Plus, I've heard it's been renovated, so it's really cool and really nice. And I'm glad that we got to check it out and see it. And we had beautiful weather for the outside part in the beginning. So grateful for our abnormally hot fall day today. Nice weather. We're going to learn a little bit about driving technology changing your organization, because I think all organizations are going through a ton of change right now, right? So Joe Bastante is going to be speaking in a little bit, but I'm going to do some housekeeping for us at AITP. I see a lot of new faces in the room. So this is my amazing board that I have the privilege to serve with this year, and I am just grateful for all the extra hard work, because these field trips are fun and exciting and they draw a crowd, and we have a lot of new faces that came mainly to see you, Joe, not to see me. But it takes a lot of work, and there's a lot of extra logistics, including security. So thank you for those of you that had to bear with us with the whole security to get in here and find the location and parking and find the side entrance and the main entrance and come and join us. But really, thank you to Jerome. You are a rock star and superstar. Your picture and your map giving us the directions of how to get here from the parking lot was amazing. So thank you for your extra field trip and your pictures.
I can only credit the amazing staff here at Blue Cross. I want to call up Angela and John for their help.
Thank you.
They made this successful. It's not me, it's the team.
And Jerome used to work here, not maybe in this building, but at Blue Cross.
Right across the street, building 200.
Yeah, back in the day. So thank you, Jerome. And Brooke, who's not here, for organizing our caterers and the catering company, and Becky for helping select our menu and our food. So it does really take all of us in our roles, and we're all volunteers, and I appreciate all your hard work to make me shine as the queen of AITP. It's also that time of year where we get to propose our new board for the next year. So I've had a lot of conversations and a lot of meetings with people over the last couple of months to make sure that we're set up for success in the next year. And we only have one seat transitioning this year. So my board, luckily, I'm so lucky that they're staying in their roles, because I think that we learn a lot in our first year in our role about the technology and the responsibilities, and then we can really shine in our second year. So the only transition in the new person is Suzanne Fulgham to be our co-VP, second VP in command with Jerome, to help with our programming and our speakers and topics, to replace Richard Mason, who did a great job, but he has moved to Charlotte and is not as local and is not as convenient for him to be a part of this organization. So we do appreciate all the work from Richard Mason this past year. So what we do at this point is members who are members of AITP get to vote and approve my proposed board for next year. Again, the only new person is our friend Suzanne as the co-VP. So all members in favor of our proposed board for 2024, please say aye.
Aye.
Is there anyone opposed? Congratulations, Suzanne. You're good. So we do board inductions next month at our holiday party end of year celebration in December. That event is at Clouds Brewery downtown Raleigh on December 14th, and we hope that you can make it there and join us for that event. We're going to have a magician and tarot card reader to tell us our future and our fortune for 2024, and then we have formally induct Suzanne and our board for the next year.
Is there hazing involved?
I mean, we might make her do the presentations instead of me next year. So this is our MAC. Our MAC is our senior level executive council, formerly usually CIOs, CTOs, and executives. They give us some guidance about trending topics, speakers, programs. They help us make sure that we're adhering to our vision and our mission statement and continuing to grow as that diverse, inclusive IT association that everyone is proud to be a part of. And we meet twice a year. This is our MAC for this year, and Ken is in the room and Rich is in the room. I think those are two of our MAC members in the room. So thank you to our MAC. And we've done a lot of programming this year. So Jerome and Richard did a great job. We try to offer diverse topics and programming, so we're not all security or not all analytics focused. So the left column is all the events that we had, and in the parentheses is our attendance at those events. We've had really great attendance this year, like breaking 50 or 60 people in most of our events. And then on the right is the next up and coming events. And I mentioned our hero card reader at our holiday party at Cloud Brewery. And then we're going to Pendo on January 11th. So we've kind of been on a field trip and a road trip. We did Red Hat and now Blue Cross and then Pendo. And so we're kind of checking out all of the local new headquarters and pretty buildings to take the field trip. We're also looking for a sponsor. So if you're in budgeting season with your company, and you have money to support an IT nonprofit association, and you would like to be a part, please see Brooke in membership or any of us on the board about potentially helping us out for sponsoring the January 11th meeting or any of our meetings in 2024. And we have some new members here. Gary and Sarah just like snuck in right under the radar as our newest members, but we have new members in the last 30 days. And then I'd like to welcome Candle Science, Luis, and staff for joining us as a new group member. Thank you for being a part of us. We hope to see you at all the future events and continue to come for the learning, the networking, the programming, the topics, and hope this helps grow your team at Candle Science. All right. So if you're not a member and it's your first time, which there are some guests here, you're welcome to continue to come as a guest and just pick the events that are of interest or the topic that they're of interest. But we do have a couple of flexible membership options. The best deal is obviously the annual membership. With that, it includes all 12 months, and it's a rolling 12 months. So if you join in December, it doesn't reset in January because of the calendar year. It's December to December based on your join date. The meals are all included. The networking is included. Usually there's at least one drink ticket included. Tonight it's a little bit more. But the cool thing is if you can't join, you can proxy your seat and send a guest. I have a couple of proxy guests here tonight that were sent from someone that is a member that are able to use this. And so you can do that if you're an IT director or working at a company and maybe the topic isn't aligned with your career path or your interests, but there's someone else on your team that would benefit from that. Or if you have a friend that maybe lost their job that would benefit from the networking that you want to share your seat with. And so there is a way to share your seat, and I will go through the housekeeping of that. But the annual membership is the best value for the 12 months, but there's also the quarterly membership, which is kind of like the try before you commit. It's like date us and see if you like us and want to keep coming back. And it's basically buy 2 months and get one free. Membership at AITP-RTP for more information. And then our group memberships. We have 3 group members this year. This is a new membership offer for corporate members and State Employee Credit Union. Anyone from State Employee Credit Union here tonight? Was our first group. Then we have Dexian. I know there's some Dexian people here tonight. And we have Candle Science. We have 3 groups now. And so that's great because that's not a named membership. That is a company membership. And then they can pick the 5 people that they want to send to each event for their company. So great way to recognize employees or get that continuous education and training for specific topic-based learning for employees. And then Oprah is going to help us with a friendly reminder of helping us prepare for these events and making it smoothly. So this is how you proxy your seat. You sign up as if you are the guest, and then you just change the guest name, and that will be the name that we have at the check-in for the badge. Pretty easy and simple, but if you can follow those instructions, it makes our lives as board members a lot easier for quick check-ins at these events. And then also remember that just because you are a member and you've already paid, it still helps us get accurate headcount to help us plan for the food. So please register for every event that you would plan to attend so that we have good headcount and accurate planning, especially on our road trips when we have to provide that headcount to a vendor or third party. And then sponsorship opportunities. So I know it's budgeting season for a lot of companies now, and you're looking at where you spent your money and what the value was, your money was, and what the ROI was. So talk to your marketing person or whoever is in charge of your budgeting about ways that you can get involved and support a nonprofit IT association to help with your brand, to help with recruiting, to help with networking, to help with getting in front of your target audience from a buyer's standpoint. We have a lot of different sponsorship offers starting at $500 up to the $5,000 annual membership or sponsorship level. And this is what you get, the things that have the green yes. And this is also all on our website for future reference, so you don't have to memorize it today or take a screenshot of it today. You'll have it to refer back to. So thank you. Highline Jenna is here. I don't think Tego is here. Jennifer is here from Tego, but thank you to our current annual sponsors. We appreciate you. We couldn't do this without you. And tonight, I have Checkpoint and Randy. Did you want to say anything and have giveaways from your Checkpoint booth? Whatever you want to do. Randy has a Checkpoint booth. This is Randy.
Hang in the swag, help yourself too. But...
Say hello.
All right. I wasn't prepared to speak, but good evening, everybody. Thanks for putting me on the spot. So, how many, quick show of hands, how many people know who Checkpoint is? Got one? Couple? Okay. So, our story, I guess there's a lot of people who don't, so I'll be brief up here. But 30 years ago, our CEO invented the firewall, and that's where we started. So, from there, we've grown every year since. Today, we have over 7,000 employees, operate in 88 countries, and have over 100,000 customers worldwide. So a lot of people who know us early on, they know us from the firewall space. Obviously, that's where we started. But what they don't know is we're actually a software company. So in the software space, we have a full cloud suite, managed detection response, endpoint, mobile, a best-in-breed email solution, SASE, and a lot of other IT products in between. So greatly evolved over the years. We try to bring cutting-edge technology and game-changing solutions to the market. Anybody who wants to hear more, I'll be over here. Help yourself to some of the giveaways that we brought tonight. Glad to speak with you, and thanks again to AITP and Blue Cross Blue Shield for having us here tonight.
Thank you, Randy. And he has a table of swag, hats, and other fun stuff. And go take a look and check them out. And now I'd like to introduce our host and speaker of the evening, Joe Bastante. He's the CTO of Blue Cross Blue Shield of North Carolina. This is his long bio. But he may have it on his slides as well. We're going to do a quick technology shift. But thank you for hosting us. We're excited to be here. And welcome to Joe.
Should work. In theory.
This happens every time, regardless.
All right, it even went on the right screen.
Yay!
Yay.
Thank you, Joe.
Well, good evening, everyone. It is really nice to see you here today. On behalf of Blue Cross, let me welcome you to our facility here. It is a really beautiful facility. We don't use it as much as we once had, but it's great to see you all here. Just a few quick things. One is, I was just really impressed by AITP. I haven't been as involved with this organization, but I want to tell you that it's a great organization. Jerome argued. He did an amazing job, right, Angela? Oh, did an amazing job. Seriously, I'm not kidding. We've been part of like national awards and stuff. I've done other talks. Seriously, this is really well done. So kudos to a great organization. In fact, we're talking about maybe getting involved more, getting organizations involved. Also, just so you know, there are a few people here from Blue Cross who probably don't want me to mention them. In addition to Angela and John. So we have another John here, and John has the jacket on. He's got the jacket on. John's usually wears jackets, so you'll you take a picture with him. It'll be worth something someday. We have Peter Bojovic. He also works with us. Michelle, maybe you know Michelle because she's a celebrity in these groups, I think. But anyway, the only other point I want to make before I jump in is that I'm going to share some examples of transformations that I've been in. They're not all from Blue Cross, and most of them are, in fact, they're not from Blue Cross. I don't want you to assume, I'm going to leave them anonymous, so you're not going to know what company I'm been around a long time, so plenty of stories to tell. I'm not going to talk for 45 minutes because I think it's too late for you all to want to sit here and listen to me for 45 minutes, but I will tell you what I hope for you all to get out of this. Now, you all came out tonight. I mean, networking is a big part of it. The food was actually really good, so that was a good part of it. But you're willing to sit here and listen to me. And so I really think about this, especially as time goes on. I'm like, it's less about me, it's more about what do people really get out of listening. I want to share just one thought with you. You should listen to what I'm sharing. You're going to forget most of this, right? You're going to enjoy the night together. Maybe you remember Sam or you remember me, but whatever it is, you're going to have a good night. I would encourage you, as we talk about transformation, find one or two things in here that you think about. You know what, I've done this, but maybe I haven't done it as much as I have or I need to. Find those couple things that can help you be more successful. Because I picked the topic of transformation because all companies want great people. What great people do is they don't leave us standing in the same place. Great people move us somewhere. So all of our careers in some ways could be viewed through the lens of transformation. So I encourage you to find a couple things that I'm about to share, put them to use, and then I think it'd be well worth your time to listen. Alrighty. Alrighty. Do I need a domino or something? Or is it a domino?
This is.
Somebody
walked off. Somebody walked off with the receiver for the other one.
It was my fault, Joe.
Technology's great.
Oh, there we go.
All right. This is the abstract, which I will not read, but just in case you didn't know, this talks about transformation. Here's what I'm going to be sharing this evening with you all. It's a very pragmatic discussion. There are 7 or so areas that we'll be talking about. In fact, I'm going to step back just for a second so I don't have to look behind me. I'm going to talk about gaining support approval for ideas that you will have, right? Obtaining funding, what are different ways we can do that? Handling complexity and uncertainty, which is an absolute given, anything transformation of any size. Planning for contingency. Addressing conflicting priorities, that's always a problem. Establishing favorable contracts, there's a reason why I want to talk about contracts, because in most cases, it's a big transformation, you're not doing it alone, and it's an important topic to talk about. And then recruiting and engaging talent, which is clearly the most important part of this all. I have some case studies. I'm going to play it by ear, timing-wise. If we have time, we'll go through a few, but I don't want to go all the way up to the very end. Before I jump in, I was interested, when you all think about transformation, I'm just curious, like you thought, man, these are like the big things you have to do for your transformation. These are like the success criteria. I'm just curious if any have any thoughts about, like, what would be the big thing you think, like, do that to be successful transformation? Any change manager? Absolutely. Absolutely.
Communication.
Maybe number 1. Communication, that goes right along.
Adoption. Taking people in the journey with you.
That's right. It's all about people. It's why I left the people on last, because it's the most important one. Absolutely. Anybody else?
Value.
Delivering value through transformation for that.
Continuous feedback.
Yes.
Exposure. Exposure to the unknown.
That's right. Yeah, the greater the transformation, the greater the journey is the unknown. Right? Absolutely.
I think knowing the why.
Yeah. We just talked about this recently. Maybe we should have you all come talk. Well, this is important because I really want you all to be thinking about, you used to have a little screen there. Let me step back. Let me talk about the first area. This is something I've observed quite often. If you're going to lead a transformation of any size, there's going to be some investment, right? And there's going to be some approvals you're going to need. So starting with the approvals, I find it fascinating. Like, there's people that I've worked with that have worked for me. If you one thing out of this talk, if you get one point, it's that do not take the full path. There's a big transformation, because the full path will not work. And so the full path is, and this happens all the time, I get this through my role, it's like, I have this idea. You prove it, you get money. But it's really interesting. What I found in my career is I've led or proposed transformations. There are a few ways we can approach it, and there's a couple of key points here. One is that going up the chain could be a way, and that's you certainly want to work with your supervisor. In this picture, I simplified to think about boards and your executive leadership team. You can certainly go to that. That's sometimes the right idea, or maybe just go to the CEO. Sometimes these tactics have been used. One of the ideas that I actually think is one of the most powerful ideas, if you want to get support for an idea, I found that there are some people who are not as accessible. You know what I mean? Like executive leadership, and they're like, well, you're trying to get encounters, it's always a challenge. Or some people are just maybe not the most responsive to ideas. I'll give you an example. Of course, I won't say where it was or who the person is. There's just one senior leader that was really difficult to get her to agree to stuff. I don't know why, but it had to be her idea. So we all talked, and we just wanted to make it go more smoothly because we work with her all the time. But we found that she always listens to the people that report to her. So we found those influential person that's in her team. We went to that person. It was easy after that. There's also, just as one for me recently, we have one of our executive leaders who's just very busy, and she has a chief of staff, and we talked about who's the person that can get on her calendar and get access to the leaders on her team, chief of staff. So, that worked beautifully. We were able to solve that. So the thought here about transformation then is that, again, the default is not usually a good option. Think about influencers. Think about the people you need to engage. Rarely is it going to get you the right result simply to plug your, gosh, it means sound negative, but just to go all the way up the chain. But think about, as a leader, how you can go to the right influencers, build momentum. Money. So this is worth a little bit of thought, because money is, of course, going to be needed for any big change. And there's a default. What's the default? I'm just curious. In your organization, what would be the default way to get money from investment? Like the standard way. You put on a nice jacket, you schmooze people, right? No, I'm sorry.
Failing an audit. You can get funding when you fail audits.
No audit, okay. I know it's actually a good one. I didn't think about that. Audits are good. Well, risk, right? The audits is just mentioned risk. But when you need to get work done, there's usually some process where investments are done or managed, right? It could be some type of portfolio process that you have in the company. There could be some office of the company that brings together investments. It could be your finance organization. I work with some organization. I was going to go to the chief finance officer to get improved. That's just the way they work. But it varies. But the reason why I wanted to share this is that there have been many options that I've been part of in the past. Let me share a couple of thoughts. One is, when we realized an investment was going to take a lot of money, one of the things we have done in the past is we work with another company to split the bill. So sometimes that's more palatable, right? You work with another company, you're like, hey, let's develop this capability together, maybe we resell it. We've done that. Getting money from external constituents, sometimes your partners will. We've just recently, we're not alone in this, but we've applied for Amazon and Microsoft. We got funding for both for our AI work. For example, Amazon announced $100 million investment for people. We applied, we got it. There's a lot of ways to get investment. And the other thing you want to think about, and that just ties to your other point, really it's important to be creative about how you make the case. There's no one way that's right for your organization. You have to make it resonate. I give some justification sometimes for companies that are, as we are very community minded. That matters. It's obviously cost and revenue, but think about the other dimensions of impact you can have. Make sure you have a good story, engage the right people, but always look creatively. But also, the only other point on the slide that I would make is that keep in mind that the default option is I need to do X, so give me Y money. Often the better option is I need to prove X, I need Y money to prove X to get Z funds at the end, and that's often a much better approach. All right, let's get into some. They actually get juicier, in my opinion, the ones that have really messed me up in the past for later today. But let's talk about complexity and uncertainty for a moment. As we were saying before about the transformation, the larger the transformation, the greater the degree of uncertainty we're going to face. And what I listed here is just some examples of areas where you'll encounter complexity. The size of what you're trying to do, the availability of skilled staff, that's always hard, right? For me, always being involved with new technology is always hard because the technology becomes popular before the people are available. Knowledge of the area being transformed. A lot of areas we don't have a lot of SMEs. People left the company, who knows, maybe no one knows about it. These are all areas of complexity. Dependencies, which I'm going to talk a little bit more about, so I won't say much here. Dependencies on governments, on other partners. But I share a few thoughts with you, and I'll reflect on this in a moment, just to kind of get the content out there. Be clear up front about about the risk and uncertainty. That's what I'd like to focus in on in just a moment. Align on the strategy to mitigate, so be aware of what your complexities are and have a plan to deal with it. Complete formal risk management. I don't know why people don't do this. In fact, I have a meeting tomorrow to do this, of course, in one of our partners to do it because they don't do it. I remember, has anyone taken a PMI certification any time in the past? I remember coming at it, I took it many years ago, and I was like, this is great. You know, what a brilliant idea. Think about everything that can go wrong, plan for it, but it's not done. So I'm a big fan of that. What if analysis ties into that? Plan for significant contingency. We always burn through contingency. If you do that in your transformation project, you put aside contingency. You have to, but it always seems to be not enough. Set up regular reporting reviews. Align with leaders for support. And shift risk via contracts. In other words, if you get somebody to take on the risk, have them do that. Let me share the front of the hard point about this, because this is something that has I've encountered many times, and even I'm encountering it still. The biggest changes that I've done in my career around transformation, there were big challenges because they hadn't been done before. And I don't mean like, hey, I mean seriously, it's like in that company, in that environment, with those circumstances, it's just you hadn't done it before. And one of the things that I've realized through the process is, one, to go in with eyes wide open. There will be risks. The whole point of the slide is to say, don't take it lightly. If you're going to do any big transformation, spend time, lock yourself in the room, do it. The other point about the uncertainty is that make sure you communicate. In fact, I've had a transformation that's still alive now. I was reflecting on what could I have done differently because we've hit some bumps. And one thing that I realized is that if you think about IT professionals, you're going to know more than some of your business leaders about the curves and wet, slippery roads ahead. Think about the risk and have discussions with people. Like say, hey, this is a real big, there's one thing in the project I'm thinking of, this is one thing that I wish I would have done. To just engage and say, you may not realize this, but we have a bit of a mess here. There's been years of creating this mess. We don't know what's going to be ahead. Here's the due diligence we've done. We have a degree of confidence, but we don't have certainty. Let's go through this together. Are you okay? Because if you're not ready to embark on this risk, if it's uncomfortable for you, let's decide that now. Let's not get, halfway in the middle of the ocean and now we don't want to be there anymore. It's, you just sort of stuck either backward or forward. So that would be the big learning for me. I would encourage you on that one. Have those discussions. Think about the risk. Think deeply about it, especially for the large transformation. I've worked for many companies who've learned this lesson. I'd like to think that I've learned this lesson. Contingency. Now, when I mentioned it before, when you think of project management, you may be thinking of contingency like I got some money aside, maybe I still some extra time here. But I want you to think about contingency a little differently for any kind of meaningful IT transformation. What you're really talking about here isn't just merely do I have some money and time. It's really about things can go wrong, and they can go horribly wrong sometimes. What will you do? We've been through, even in this company, we've been through big transformations where we hadn't done as much planning. It was extremely painful. So I'll give you an example from outside of IT. This is being recorded, so you should see that one. So my wife, when we had our first child, she had a plan, and she had a contingency plan. Okay, her plan in giving birth to the baby was, I don't need pain meds. That's the plan. Okay, the contingency plan was, if it really freaks me out, I'm going to get the meds. Okay, but there was a problem with that plan. She didn't ask the question, when do we need to make the decision? Because what happened was, at some point, she said, I am ready. Load me up. I don't care what you have to do. And he said, oh, we're sorry. It's too late. And so the reason why I share that story maybe would be a little more memorable. It certainly is for me, for her, of course, obviously, but because it's not just having a contingency plan, it's having a well thought out plan. It's also knowing when do you need to make the decision and having agreed upon mechanisms to make that decision in a timely way. I'm not sure this is like, as I said before, some abstract idea. This is like something I'll tell you many times in my career. Even in fact, one of the projects we had now, we had a full contingency plan to keep us going. It was painful. But I will tell you, please, if you ever are in a large transformation, it's your job to see this thing through. I would absolutely encourage you to think about contingency. And that may mean, and just to paint a clear picture, contingency may mean, hey, if this goes south, we need to, for a period of time, however much time that be able to keep operating as a business, be able to provide technology, solutions in a period of time. Or another way to look at it is if this just doesn't flat out work, what are we going to do? Do we want to go at it again? Do we want to have a agreed upon decision point. We say, let's look at the result. You know, that whole idea will save a lot of headaches. I've encountered this more than once, and so I hope I've learned from it. All right, let's see. I'm going to track what's that time-wise. Addressing conflicting priorities. How many have had this problem with your work? Like, you need people, those people have other things that are shoot me now. You know, it's one of the most common problems. It's hard in a company of any size to manage your portfolio, isn't it? And not many companies are good at it. And you know, because you really need to understand your stuff, right? There's a lot of work. Superficially, a lot of times we'll have portfolio management offices or people who serve like service, and it's like, you know, they'll do the high level, but they don't in the detailed way sometimes understand what is each one of these issues. Maybe you have 20, maybe you have 50, maybe you have 100, maybe you have 1,000, right? But as they start to get larger numbers, especially as you get over 100, I would say, it's hard for people to know what's exactly in those and where they can conflict. I have seen people do well, which is not easy. But anyway, always the case that whenever you're going to try to do any transformation, you're obviously going to hit this obstacle. So there's certain things you can do. Of course, it can't be completely prevented in some cases. As I said, there's things that learn. Sometimes the timeline may shift a little bit. You may, and these things always seem to happen. Losing key staff, and so now there's not people available, and so now you get scarce resources, you get the priority. But a few ideas are, first, as I said, know your organization's ability to manage priorities and dependencies. So while do the homework, you know, spend the time, talk to the other teams, do as much as you can. It's not going to be perfect, but do as much as you can. And also think about, are you likely to hit a collision, right? Some projects or initiatives, they may not be so large, maybe it won't be a problem. We talked about contingency and understanding we have a conflict. But the thing I most would like to point out here too is that some of you had mentioned about communication really changed, right? That's like a really big thing. One of the techniques we've used here, I've used in other places, we usually call champions or some sort of stakeholder group. So you go, let's say this is a company-wide transformation, right? So you go around and you ask the question like you did before, who are the influencers? Who are the people that sort of plug into the organization? Let's go talk to them, be nice to them, maybe we'll work with them. You know, say, would you help us? You can get early lenses, how things are going to change. You can influence it, give us your voice. And so you set up that champion group. That's a really good way to be able to get the word out. And, the reason why I mentioned on this line is because very often they give you really great insight into where you're about to collide. So change always is going to need priority. Companies always want to do more than they can. Really important topic to consider. All right. Establishing, you know, this is like one I feel passionate about. I've had some people I work with feel passionate about this too. This is one, unless you've done a lot of big transformations, you may not have seen the pattern. So I'll share this one. You know, I'll tell you, killed us so many times. Again, technology. So there's always, often going to be, almost always going to be some technology partners. Maybe they're delivering. Maybe it's they're providing the solution. Maybe they're providing the software, hosting software service, a cloud, whatever it is. It's often the case that you are moving from A to B with your partners. I will tell you that one of the biggest lessons learned I've had through the years has been the pain that an existing partner who knows you're moving away from them can cause. What do I mean by that? I'm not just saying it will be pains and it will whine and want to talk to you all the time. Yeah, they do that. But that's not the big problem. The problem is going to be they're going to say, I'm not going to get any revenue from your company at all anymore. I'm going to go through my contract line any way that I can extract money from you. I'm telling you, I've seen people do completely irrational things. Like we've had clauses in the contract that if this contract terminates, you are your obligations. You know what they do? I don't understand. No, I don't think it says that. But it says that, black and white, absolutely. Well, I talked to my lawyer says, no, that's maybe something different. And so what will happen is getting away from the partner will be extremely painful. I've seen a lot of money on the table to have to solve this problem. Warning, if you're ever doing a big transformation and you have from partners to partners, I will say this would be one of the tops of my list because it gets real expensive, real painful. You have a great contract, you got everything covered, you move away from them, heck with you. But when companies, I'll tell you, especially some of the, I hate to say, but some of the companies that have been around a while aren't innovating as much. they're experts at extracting money from customers. I'm not being negative, I'm just being honest. So keep that in mind. If you want to talk something, you don't sell every one of them. But it's also the vendor you're going to. I think we're a little more aware, so I won't say as much. Certainly contractual things. We talk all the time in our teams about, provisions we want to make sure that are there. We want to make sure that we can terminate, we have fees, pricing blocks, SLAs, everything that we need in the contract. So make sure you have those. The only point I will make for today's discussion on the two vendor would be that make sure you're thinking about what happens if we get divorced when you sign the contract. Because we often get excited, we're not going to be great, it's going to be wonderful, we're going to love each other forever, and then okay.
It's good policy to do that as you develop that relationship.
That's right.
Talk about that.
Exactly. Yeah, you're saying it for those in here, it's good policy to be talking about that. Yeah, totally agree on. It's not marriage, so it's okay, it's a little safer. I know you're the best partner in the world, I know we got that for your slide deck, but let me start this off with a story, because I don't like to read too much. This is my last content slide, so we're doing good, right? Yeah, we're around time. I'm going to share a story just because they're easier to listen to. This is my first time in my career where I started to be involved in transformation, and just the dynamics about people and stakeholders. That's mostly what you'll mention about it. You're right. Early in my career, I was in my 20s, it's a little bit, just, I don't know, still in my 20s. So I worked for I actually started off on a mainframe. It was fun. It was great. Mainframe, we were just talking about this before, mainframe. And mainframes were great. They were wonderful. But then I read an article and it said mainframes will go away. I'm like 20, I don't want to do this. What am I going to do? So I just bored down and I retooled myself. And so anyway, I won't bore you with my life. Just the point of the story is that I kind of changed my career when I was at. I was at AT&T. I reskilled and I made sort of a little career. I had a team of people. We would do transformation. We would take solutions that were on mainframe, very expensive, and we would put on these new, computers that we have. I'm just sparing all the complexities of this, but here's just the net of all this change. We paid these super high priced consulting company to build a solution for AT&T process all the data in our networks. And they said, Joe, hey, you've done this before, we're going to move on. Consulting company didn't tell me. Just take it over, and, just finish it. It should take you a couple of weeks, and that'll be great. Yeah, okay, no problem. So myself and my team, we went in, and they said it's all running, it's been tested, and we go to build and compile it, nothing compiles. So, we figure out, and it spent us weeks to be able to fix our code to get it compiled. And, just to give you a sense of its performance, this was a really complex thing. It was we were doing on these 7 computers, that's what our mainframes. It was 3 orders of magnitude too slow. In other words, we had a process in 16 different ways, 30 million transactions an hour, and they were doing 1,000 an hour. So long and short of it, okay, so what's the point about changing people? Why do I start there? Well, we buckled down. I will tell you, it's one of the great technical accomplishments of my career. These computers, we were talking a while ago, they were on Pentium, I'll never forget, they're NCR computers, they're Pentium 90s. You have gigahertz computers, so these computers were less than that computer. So it was an amazing achievement. 3 days after we had it finally tested, they killed the project. And actually, to be clear, they canceled the team. They got shipped off to Bell Laboratories, which I actually went to. That's why I got to Bell Laboratories. But the interesting thing about it was, in my 20s, I was clueless. Oh, this was great. No, you don't understand. We did something that I hadn't done before. This was cool. And what I realized at the time, because I was clueless, I started off much more clueless than others. And was that the human dynamic process. So here's what's happening. There's a lot of people working on mainframe apps, right? And on these mainframe apps. They had a lot of voices. They spoke a lot. I was oblivious. I just was having fun. And lo and behold, it was actually nothing to do with the solution. It was nothing to do with the technology. We had done something really groundbreaking. It was work. But the human change element, I was way too old in my career to have any concept of that. That was a big, a failure. I mean, we went on in a different form, so maybe some good, but that leads me to the point that there's a couple of things, and it's the final thing I'll leave you with. I'll be up there a couple more minutes if you want to talk about case study, if you have any points to share, questions, but like I said, I want to keep this punctual here. But this is a helpful slide. Let me share the rule of 3 times. It's not any formal rule, but I was telling you this, and some of us have talked about this recently. whenever you're doing something complicated that hasn't really been done, you're going to mess up. Even if you really try. That doesn't mean you shouldn't try, because you mess up worse for more times and for longer periods of time if you don't prepare well to do the things we talked about. But if you've done something that hasn't been done before, it's gonna, in fact, we just had this, we were talking about this. We did one of our transformations we've done for technology. It was a very big system, very complex. We didn't know what to expect. First time, we worked with a partner. And I don't need my scale analogy to my oatmeal analogy, but we had done it before, and sure enough, first time we did a crash and burn. Next weekend we tried again. It almost worked. That third weekend was a charm. We did it. Then we had some other environments we had to do. It was ahead of schedule the fourth time. I will tell you this. I'm not kidding. My experience has been, if you're doing something, because you're not going to know what you're going to hit, you're going to learn. And so be prepared that if you're doing anything meaningful, it's going to take a few times. 3, for some reason, is a magic number. It's not always 3, but it often is. The other thing, too, is the scale problem. I will tell you this. This is a lesson learned for me. No, I'm not the only one that has this. When you talk to your partners, you say, hey, look at what I want to do. And they're like, and I don't mean offended. I'm just looking. You know, we have wonderful vendors, but honestly, a lot of times they say we have. But you have to ask yourself, who's the we? If you're and this really applies mostly to the larger consulting companies, but if you're one of the big consulting companies, right, hundreds of thousands of people, when they say we've done it, we mean we. Every 100,000 person or 200,000, no. There's some people they haven't done it, but they say we have done it, but you're probably not going to get the few. You may not get even not even work with the company anymore, right? But here's the point. Here's my oatmeal analogy. Gosh, it's such a horrible analogy, but I'm gonna. Maybe it's a just pain in your head. It'll stick. But I was helping out as a church event, and I eat oatmeal. I eat, you know this, right? Oat bran, oatmeal, quick oats, steel cut oats. You know, you name it, I eat it. I cook it all the time. I'm not measuring. I've been eating it for decades, and so they said, Joe, we need a healthy option, and we usually cook and help out. So they said, would you make oatmeal? Yeah. So I make the oatmeal. Wouldn't you know, I burned it. But the reason why I burned it is because it was a commercial stove, had variable, much more heat. The pots were much thinner. The volume was a big volume, so the heat would travel safe. My point is simply this, that when you talk to your partners and you talk to other companies, they're going to tell you they've done it. Maybe they have. But a lot of times, if you're a large company that's complex, I will tell you scale matters. Be prepared. If you're working, you think about people, know that not all people, even if they say they've done a thing, haven't necessarily done it to scale. Be prepared for the bumps. Then my last point from the slide comes from, actually I have 2 points here, so sorry, last 2 points. I got your hopes up. I have one extra point, sorry. One of the transformations, actually it brought me to North Carolina. I'm not going to say the company, it's not one, but I actually came down for a role that was in a transformational organization, stood up, reported to the CEO of this organization to transform, and it was like a great opportunity. The thing is, like, it had a lot of VPs. Like, so most people were VPs. So what they did is, I came from another company, but most people who, I was recruited. But most people were there for like decades, and they were the expert company. So it's like, imagine if you had like a sports team with all the great basketball players. But the thing is, they weren't a team. So my only point here is that when it comes to change, you absolutely need to have the right people. Absolutely, I will tell you that one of the biggest success criteria is have the right team. You need people who have done this before. You know, I said I know you're going to learn. It's not always going to be the same, but that doesn't mean you absolutely need people who have done this before. But be careful about recruiting a team of people who don't cooperate, because you need to build a team. I've seen major crash and burns from that. But now let's talk about change management. That's that last bullet that was on the slide here. I don't know what to say to other. I think you know this. You can't overestimate the importance of bringing people along with you. There's no amount of work that you can do that will be enough to bring everybody along, but you need to eventually bring enough people along. We've had changes. I'm gonna say it, okay. Just maybe for the there's not actually a thing here. Are we recording? Yeah. Oh, we are, okay. All right. I'll just say I'll really open up then.
Tell them though, it's a tiny camera.
It's a tiny camera. It's gonna be a little picture. I'm supposed to be a little something. I just am thinking about the cloud transformation we've been through for quite a few years. So we're really out the other side of that. But I remember at the beginning just how much energy it took, because people are human, right? The fears of, well, I don't know this, or should I know this? I will tell you that it took many years to get from almost nobody's on board to now everybody's on board. It's not something we could have ever done in 6 months, not something we've done in a year, but know that change management is going to be big, you know this. Know it's going to have a change management plan, do it officially, engage as many people as you can, move it right along. So let me just share a parting thought with you all. It's sort of where I opened up about this talk. I picked this topic, as I said from the beginning, because in all of our lives it's about changing things. It could be at work or it could be outside of our environments or outside of our work environment. Some of these may not apply, maybe it's not about money, but it's always going to be about people, right? It's always going to be about change. If I can leave one party thought, because I know you're not going to remember all this, but be deliberate in your changing anything in your life. Don't leave it to chance. I'm so looking forward to December because that's my time of year to do a lot of my personal planning. But think about where you want to go. Think about what you want to do, or remember the full path is never going to be the right path. Or rarely, I can't say never. It's not going to be the right path. Plan where you want to go. Take some of these things, take your own lessons learned, come up with a path for that. Realize that is a transformation. You are a transformation as much as I am. Your life journey is a transformation. So I'd encourage you to think about it. Maybe some of these points you heard today you could apply in your own life. I'm going to open it up before I wrap up, just in case there's any questions. Or if you want, I can do it quick. I give one to any questions or comments that you would like to share before we wrap up? I'm happy to share anything about or further on anything I've covered today. Would you like a mic?
No pressure. And this is the actual camera. It's like
Wow, it's so small. See if I were ran up to my mouth over there. That's how you get it cut. Wow.
Any questions? So I was at a conference and Gartner has a published study that says 70% of digital transformations fail because of employee resistance. So that's this whole change management and people, right? And the adoption and what everyone says.
It's scary. And people come around. You guys share this story. I was just a little nervous. I'm like, oh, good people resist. But it's just changed, right? It's like we're going somewhere else. I don't know exactly what's going to happen. Yeah, it's scary, but good people come around. But you got to help them.
I have a question. Yeah. Related to that. Do you think it's harder to get people there now that, like, post-pandemic with everyone being a little bit more distributed?
I do. People who work with me know my personality. It can be a good thing, it can be a bad thing. But I like to be around people. I like to be with people. I think we're human. I've always thought if I wrote a book about leadership, we'd call it Leading Humans, because we're humans. I find that it's much easier. In fact, I don't find it's impossible, but to answer your question, absolutely. Especially for, like probably one of the most extreme examples you could think of, because we have this beautiful campus here. But we have everybody. I worked with my past companies that worked where they were global. You're talking Singapore, right now. They have like almost everybody together. And we were like hyper together, and then we went to hyper away. It has been hard. Would you agree? Have you found this to be tricky?
Yeah, I mean, definitely. Harder, as new people join the organization, it's harder to even build trust with them without that.
Yeah.
Hey, Joe. First of all, thank you for obviously everything you said. And then to kind of Kate's point here, what would you say, how would you maneuver around the resistance piece, I guess, through a digital transformation? What would your advice be?
Here are techniques that we've used, but not everyone is for the situation. There's the competition and jealousy approach. Quite honestly, that is what we have used. When I say we, which have used in the past, where sometimes, let's say there's a technology that people are not adopting, but it's really great to deliver results quickly. It has been an approach that I've done in the past where it's like, we're not a couple of people to show it's possible. Does that create tension? Yes. Be careful, absolutely. Do not let it get out of hand. But what inevitably what happens is that some of the people will be a little animosity that if you do it right, you can get people, if you invite people and bring them along, and then you can say, like, hey, maybe one person will vocal, well, hey, why don't you come work with us? Then they work with you, and then again, outside, it spreads, and then ultimately you'll leave that in the group, and the tension goes away. That's one way. We've done hackathons. I find that the other thing too, this is something something I tend to do, is I figure out who can be. It's almost like a new technology or product, like for consumers, right? It's like not the adoption curve, you have the early adopters. There are always going to be people I'm not gonna say that because we're on camera, but I'm just gonna show you. There's one who's passionate, but sometimes it can be double-edged sword. But there usually will be people who are gonna be the people who will be passionate and intellectual. And I think a lot of the winning of any change is to find those people, to bring them along. And I found like, this person I'm thinking, well, we'll not say the name. And, this person actually now, do more, just, okay, no, we're doing a lot, we're good. But those are just some ideas. Anything else anyone would share?
Norman, the pressure doesn't necessarily work as the for a long game.
Yeah.
I think you need to see, we have to create the environment, we also have to build that or at least, I wouldn't say charge, but show them that it's in their best interest that you look at something changing.
Yeah, that's it.
You want to repeat the question?
Know people.
Yeah, the question, for those, thank you for it. The question was about, originally, what techniques could you put to work in order to help adoption or change? And there's some comments made that, it's not, I gave an example of a couple of techniques, but obviously, that doesn't mean you don't need to engage people. You don't need to bring them along, you really do. And of course, obviously, it goes without saying, people say, please treat people with respect. People are good, realize that we're just human. We just need to be on the journey, everybody's up to the time and the pace. It's not all bad, but you do need that lever, and that was probably the biggest learning about that one. Yeah.
So, thank you. This transformation has been very near and dear to my heart the last 5-7 years. I've been part of a couple of big transformations last time. There's an interesting statistic around transformation. 70% of transformations fail. In those pockets, some parts of some components are successful, but with a large number of 70%, as told, you talk of transformation whole. What is your guidance? How to get to the 30% and be a part of the 70%?
Well, that's a good question. The question was about 70%, and I don't know which that's that. There's the digital projects, IT projects, data analytics projects, but there's a very similar statistic that's always comes out. That is, most projects fail. The question was, what will we do? I would say a lot of what I've shared today was really trying to get to the heart of that. I will share one other thought though. Most of you, I imagine, have some deals with agile processes, right? It's interesting when you think about it that we use that to deliver technology projects, for example. But we don't necessarily use it as widely as a way to transform companies. What I mean by that is, I think a good way in many cases to do transformation is do it stepwise, right? So you figure out, okay, here's what I want to get to, but I'm not really sure exactly what it's going to look like when I get there. What's the stuff I can do now? Assess and talk together, work together. What are we going to learn? You know what I mean? So taking this stepwise approach. I would just share that as one more thing, but I think it's a lot of things. As I said before, it's good change management to be key. The right people, and I said that before, I absolutely mean. I will tell you that there is work that we're doing right now, and there's a few people who are like just amazing. Without that, we would be afloat one day. So you need the right people, you need to engage the right people, you need to be personable, be patient, all these things. That's a great question, but it's so multifaceted, it's hard to find out. Yeah.
I do. So, not a question, but a comment.
Oh,
I have to deliver some major transformations, and as a matter of fact, I'm in the middle one in my current role. And one of the things that I had to learn, actually a few things that I wanted to just share with everyone. And the biggest one is that success depends on where people are with you in the transformation. And having transformation micro checks. Because where you think you are and where you should be are always going to be different. Checking the pulse on where people are in the transformation. Also, data is king. Harvesting the feedback from the people who are supposed to adopt the transformation and leadership is the hardest part, in my opinion. Users think that they're getting something and leadership wants something else. So how do you check that your transformation is going the right way is by harvesting that data and making sure that you're checking your assumptions and that you are also being brought to reality by your upper management team. The next thing is going to be not being afraid to pivot. Sometimes the transformation reveals that the end goal is not what you thought it would be, and it isn't because it costs more money or it's costing the organization the reputation that the organization has. So not being afraid to pivot and sometimes finding that the learnings within the transformation are more valuable than the values that the transformation is supposed to deliver. Not being afraid to pivot means don't let great be the enemy of good and iterating. because sometimes you can't get to your goal, but that doesn't mean that you can iterate on that goal and still deliver transformation.
That's an excellent point. In fact, I'm going to close this just because I will keep the mic. Okay. I'll just share one final thought. You really sparked that. I think it's perhaps one of the most important things I built in the presentation. When we're leading through transformation, we're human. Let's face it, I'm guilty of this. If you do something, you don't want to fail. I don't want to fail. That is at work in our transformation, right? It's our ego. It's our not wanting to fail. But the question is, that I think why I appreciate your points is that, but why are you really transforming as a human? We revert status, money, position space, we don't want to fail. But I would encourage you to, as you think about transformation, think about those who the transformation was for and why that is the people. Because at the end of the day, even if you didn't achieve your goal, but people were transformed, they were along that deal. So I love your points. Thank you. Thank you for some time.
Thank you.
Thank you, Blue Cross, for hosting, and all of our partners that helped us make this happen. Thank you, Checkpoint, for being our sponsor. So we'll see you in a month, always second Thursday, but December 14th, Clouds Brewery downtown, holiday party. Come celebrate with us, get your future read by our tarot card reader, get some magic, have some drinks, and enjoy yourself. So I know you have a lot of choices for the holidays for all the events that are coming in and all the invites that you're getting out there. So I want to be the first to invite you to our holiday party so you can put it on your calendar. All right. Have fun. Thank you. December 14th. Yeah, December 14th. Okay, good. Thank you. Thank you, Joe. Thank you, Blue Cross. We're going to wrap.